What's happening, people? Thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone who's watched my other YouTube videos. I do really appreciate you taking the time to watch. Like I said in my first video, I never really envisaged myself doing one of these YouTube channels, but it's been reasonably enjoyable. The video that I'm going to do today is about the first novel which I wrote back in 2016 called Liar. I don't have a copy of Liar on me. I've never actually seen a paperback version of Liar. It's kind of awkward for me to order the books in bulk. People prefer to buy them from Amazon, so it's not really worth my while getting hold of them. I know I should have a copy of my own book, but I will get round to it one day. So yeah, Liar. Liar is about a kid growing up in London. And his mother is addicted to crack and heroin. The book there's three parts. One part when he's a child, one part when he's a teenager, and the last part when he's grown up. Due to his circumstances, the child, whose name is Jay, creates these fantasy worlds for himself, which he uses to escape his circumstances. We've probably all seen it at school. There's always that one kid that stands out that no one really talks to or no one really plays with. The kid that basically makes things up, and everyone makes fun of them because they know what they're saying is more than likely not true. Now with children, they don't really look at why the kid might be making things up, and that's understandable. They're children. Children don't really look beyond what they see in front of them. Whereas adults probably should look more into, what the reasons why someone is doing something. And by creating the character Jay, I wanted to try and give a perspective of what it would be like for a child who's growing up in those circumstances, with his mother addicted to heroin and doing drugs in front of him, and having people come round to his house that shouldn't be there, and his thoughts and feelings, emotions, and a resentment towards a society which he probably thinks should take care of him, and they're not. They're just labeling him and not giving him the care that they should. The book also looks at it from his mother's point of view. Now, the part which is his mother's point of view was the hardest part to write. In no way in which she treats her child is it right. That's something that you can't get away from. I think I spoke about it in my last video. We look at people and we don't really delve that much deeper. And by writing a mother's character, I didn't want to completely destroy her. I didn't want to give this completely horrible woman who is neglecting her child, which she is. There's no getting away from her that she's neglecting her child. But what I wanted to do was try and give it from her point of view. There's a reason why she has ended up the way that she has. As someone who's been an addict themselves, I know what it's like to have substances completely rule your life. There's nothing outside of that substance that you live for. Everything else is periphery. You don't care about it. Well, not you don't care about it, but you don't care as much as you should do. The ruling thing in your life is being able to do whatever drug it is that you do, or drink whatever. And so by writing her character, I suppose I wanted to try and give some empathy towards her and the way that she lives her life. Now, it's not excusing the way that she treats Jay. There's, like I said before, there is no excuse for that. What I also wanted to try and show was society's views on addiction, and the way in which we label people, and we tend to stick to them labels. We don't like to see them go away. In Jay's case, he holds on to that label as a liar all the way through to adulthood, and it's something that he can't shake off, even though later on in life he knows full well that the reason that he was lying was because he wanted to escape the circumstances which had been put upon him. But it's also looking at the way that people associate the child with his mother and his mother's actions. When a child comes into the world, it has no choice in the circumstances into which it's born into. It's completely out of its hands. And a child's parents' behaviour shouldn't affect the way we see the child, because the child can't control that. And by allowing the parents to shape our view of the child, you're effectively condemning him to the same kind of life, because that label then is put upon him, and we live up to labels. So yeah, the book tries to explore society's views on addiction as well in general. I'm quite vocal in my view that addiction needs to be treated a lot more seriously than it is. There's a lot of people out there, and the same with Jay's mother, who have a problem but don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what help is available. They don't know where to get help. And it's frightening for them. There's some people out there, of course, that don't want help. I've come across people that don't want help, that if that's the way they want to live their life, then that's fair enough. But in the case of Jay's mother, she's someone who wants help but doesn't know how to do it. And one of the frightening things about addiction is that when you're bang in the middle of it, you really don't know where to turn. People are telling you you should do this and you should do that and you need to sort your life out. And you're basically telling them something that they already know. Because I'll give an example of my own, I knew, when I was going to the shop at 7 o'clock in the morning to buy a bottle of vodka, that there was something wrong, that I need to sort my life out. You can't escape that. No one that goes to the shop at 7 o'clock in the morning to buy a bottle of vodka thinks all this is right. For all the people telling you that, what you're doing, you know what you're doing is wrong. And this often creates resentment because, they're not helping you, they're just telling you what you should do when you already know what you should do, but you don't know how to go about it. Now, in the case of Jay's mother, she's got a child. Luckily, I was never in that position. And you can only imagine what it would be like to have your life ruled by something, not knowing how you're going to get out of it, and knowing that it's affecting the child's life as well, and how you would deal with that, and like I said, you know, addiction needs a lot more understanding. And it comes back to that label of, you know, this person is, these labels stick with them. Even when people get clean, those labels still get, you know, stuck to them, and people find it extremely hard to shake it off. And I hope by writing a book that in some way it might change people's attitudes, you know, to how they see addiction, that it's not as straight up as it seems, you know. I think there's often a glamorization of addiction in certain circumstances. I mean, you look at people in the media, and you talk about singers or rock stars or whatever, you know, they are addiction glamorized. You know, you talk about the rock and roll lifestyle. And the thing is, it's not like that at all. People don't sit around taking drugs, you know, sitting on their sofa out. You don't do that because you enjoy it. You know, it's not an enjoyable lifestyle. And the further you go into it, the more resentment there is. And it's not just resentment towards other people, it's resentment towards yourself. It's resentment towards your inability to, you know, solve your problems and sort your life out. And you're constantly thinking about it. You're constantly thinking, well, how can I change my life? And often it appears that there is no answer. You know, you feel as though you're condemned to that life. And then when people are telling you that you need to sort your life out, you just think, well, I don't know how to do it. You're telling me to do this, and you're not offering me any kind of advice. There's also the fear that there's a fear of being clean. I had a massive fear of being clean. To me, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life clean, and that will go the same for most addicts. You know, most addicts don't know what it's like to live a life clean, and when you take those first steps towards sorting yourself out, the biggest thing that's going through your head is like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, what is, you know, I know that I'm going to have to feel everything, that, you know, you're going to have to live what is considered a normal life. And despite you wanting that so badly, it's terrifying. And, you know, like I said, the writing Jay's mother's character was extremely hard, because trying to get that perspective across is very difficult. You only have to look at comments on social media or you know, even on television, you know, about how people feel about addicts, you know, and this kind of idea that, you know, that people are just sitting around doing what they do, and they're doing it while sticking their fingers up to society, and you know, that's very rarely the case. So yeah, trying to write her character and give the idea that, you know, that there's more to what meets the eye, while at the same time not excusing her behaviour, was extremely difficult. With Jay was also a really hard character to write, because I lived his life. I think some people who've read the book thought that Jay was me. Jay's not me. That's not how I grew up. It wasn't my life. However, everything that I write is based on people that I've known, or, you know, and some of my own experiences in life. I mean, there are parts of me in Jay. However, the way in which he grew up is not how I grew up. And the difficulty in writing him was that trying to, for one, be accurate. You know, I didn't want to give an inaccurate account. You know, that wouldn't be fair to children who are in his position, because there are children out there who are in his position. And the second part, or the second difficulty was you know, when I write, I live what I write, and Liar was by far and away the most exhausting book I've ever written. I still have part of Jay in my mind, and I know people often ask, well, am I going to write a second part to it, because it is left open at the end. Yeah, definitely I am going to write a second part to it. When I finished Liar, I didn't pick up a pen for about 3 months after, because I couldn't. I was absolutely exhausted. And the reason that I've delayed writing the second part to this book is because I know what I want to do with it. And you know, without giving too much away, I want to write it when I've experienced what he's going to do myself. For those of you who haven't read it, probably sounds a bit strange, but for those who have read it, probably will understand what I'm trying to say. If not, I'm sorry if I'm not explaining myself very well. So yeah, that's the book, Liar. There's a link to it in the description where you can buy it from Amazon. I think I said that at the beginning of the book. Sorry if I am repeating myself again. I've also added something that I've written recently into the description as well, so you get an idea of how I write. So yeah, thank you for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. To be honest, you don't want to comment or like, it's fine. I don't really see myself as becoming a YouTube star, but I wouldn't even want to be one. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.